welcome. You're watching FYI. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Now, TCS, India's biggest IT service company in terms of revenue, that is, has now opened the doors of its offices for all employees to now return to work. 15th of November, Monday, is the day. The move comes at a time when COVID-19 cases are slowly declining. We're sitting at the lowest in terms of, as of today at least, in quite a few months, with the lowest number of active cases as well in several places, at least in North India. Schools are opening, colleges are opening, offices in different sectors are of course beginning to open as well. But is everybody happy about it? Not happy about it? But TCS taking the move means a lot of other IT companies might also follow suit. But what exactly is TCS's game plan? Well, they have asked their employees to come back, all of them, to work for now, but eventually they want to move to what they're calling is a 25-25 model. TCS has basically asked its employees to come back to work to their deputed locations, base branch as they call it, and they put out a statement about this as well, and later said that it will be an initial return back to work, all of them, but then they will move to what they're calling is a very ambitious 25-25 model. What exactly is this model? Let's tell you. So, a 25-25 model for TCS means that by 2025, 25% of the workforce will work from office at any time. Employees will not need to spend more than 25% of their time at work. Basically meaning that 75% of the company's employees will be permanently working from home by 2025. Extremely ambitious for a company the size of TCS, right? At the moment, if you compare that, just about 5% of TCS associates are working from offices. In that statement, they also, like I said that initially everybody will come back. But not everyone is happy. In fact, by the time we floated the topic today on social media, lots of people have written into me saying that they don't want to come back to work. A lot of them had let go of their rentals, gone back home. They liked working from home. Their productivity was also high, and now wondering what this new change is all about. But to sort of help us understand, we all know by now that companies in India and across the world will move to a hybrid model. But there is no one hybrid model. There are several of them. Like there is one at-will model, which means that it will enable employees to choose the work arrangement that works best for them. You and I, as employees, can just take a call on what we want to do. Sounds heaven. It's for those who want to come to office when they need to meet someone or require a quiet place to work for a day. Then there is another sort of hybrid model, which is a split week model, which a lot of companies are doing as well. This model splits the week between working from home 2 to 3 days a week and working on site to about 2 to 3 days a week as well. This, of course, has been adopted by several corporates. In Gurugram, a lot of co-working spaces have come up. Companies have let go of their accommodation and buildings that they had altogether and just hired these co-working space, said that we only need our employees to come in about 2 to 3 days a week. So this is a much smaller space we need. It's a win-win both ways. The third kind of hybrid is a shift work model, which means that employees work in shifts, alternating between working from home and working mornings or evening shifts on site. Week by week model, that's another adaptation that has come up, and a new model, hybrid model that has come up during the pandemic, which is employees alternating between working from home, working on site on a weekly basis as well. Now, so they decide a couple of weeks that they will come to work, a couple of weeks when they will not. But are we evolving towards a hybrid model altogether? The simple, short answer to that is yes. You cannot escape it anymore. Which basically means that 70% of organizations at the moment, surveys say, are looking at a hybrid work model beyond the pandemic as well. Organizations with more than 1,000 employees are more likely to adopt to this hybrid work model, and 50% of the workforce are likely to return to office up to 3 days a week as well. This is what NASSCOM is saying. Also in their survey, they point out how a lot of people have now tasted and realized that this work culture that is especially a very India phenomena, that everybody needs to be looking like they're working and looking like they're busy and is required in presence, physical presence in offices, not really required. Good productivity, good work can happen even with people working from home, and the convenience of their homes, getting much deserved time with their families as well. So having understood that, let's give you a quick roundup of which all companies are adopting what all models as of this moment. We picked up some top companies for you. Microsoft, for example, has hybrid optional. There is Infosys also hybrid, Spotify is hybrid, Ford is hybrid, Citigroup as well, Apple, American Express, Uber, Google is completely remote first and then hybrid. That's the company which is really leading the way on that front. Apple as well, encouraging people to work from home, only asking people who need to get together for innovation, etc., to come to work and use office spaces. Intel as well moved to a completely hybrid space. But it's a complicated issue because not all sectors can work hybrid. Not all levels in the company, employees at different levels, can work hybrid as well. Imagine a really young person who has just joined in the workforce and is just at home, doesn't get to learn from seniors, doesn't get to understand culture as well. And even when it comes to hybrid, half of them being on screen, that is joining from home, and half of them in office. How exactly is the communication going to happen? This is an issue that has boggled a lot of companies and employees and employers alike. So we thought, let's open it up with some of the experts in this to understand which way are we going with this. So joining us on FYI today is Ashish Agarwal. Ashish joins us as a representative from NASSCOM. They've done a huge study which talks about how this is going to work. He's in the public policy sector over there. Bala Subramanian is here. He's a vice president at Team Please, giving us also an insight into what just companies are doing, but also what employees want. Extremely important, especially with this word, the great resignation doing the rounds these days. How exactly is that going to come around in this present scenario is what I'm very excited to hear from Bala from. Also with us is Deepa. Deepa back with us. She's from Introc Consulting, partner over there, and looking into great insights from her as well. Also joining us today is Ajay Arora, Vice President, Strategic Planning and Projects at Hero Enterprise. Deepa, let me give you the first word today on which way it is looking on both fronts. Like I said, firstly, let's address the issue on how complicated hybrid models can be or perhaps already are. With half of people at home, half in office, I hear a lot of people saying, well, there is FOMO. I don't know what's happening. Decisions are being taken and I'm not part of it. Should I go? Should I not go? So, at a very basic level, this is what is happening. This is mid-management. There are going to be different complications when you come to top management and then, freshers as well. Just take us through your thoughts first.
Thanks, Sonal. With the entire call back to office, there are two trends that we think companies and leaders are possibly missing, which adds to the complication. One, the employees they're calling back are not the same employees who started remote working 18 to 24 months ago. They may have the same ID card, they may have this employee number, but they're not the same employees. Because COVID has untethered us from routines. It's given us a chance to think about what do we really want? What is the thing that I want for my career? And it has shifted many of us. Our hypothesis is that this is causing the great resignation wave and causing high attrition levels across industries, both India and globally.
So you're saying there's a direct link between work models and the resignations?
Absolutely, because of what employees want from their work, life, and everything else. They've had a chance to rethink their priorities. And they're not going to go back for the same things that worked in the past. Companies are going to have to put on the table meaningful experiences, meaningful reasons for them to work with them. That's one big trend. The second big trend is that in calling employees back, companies are somewhere expecting a hybrid model to evolve by itself. And it won't evolve by itself. And there are three reasons why we say that. One is companies are thinking this is the work to be done. You can do it from anywhere, you can do it from office, and it's a simple addition. It's not. Like you rightly pointed out, they're missing factors like psychological safety. Can I trust this team even though I'm not physically present there? The fear of missing out. All of these are going to impact productivity and efficiency. That's a big one. The second one, managers are not going to automatically know how to deal with hybrid workforce. They will have to be skilled for it. And unless they're skilled, they're going to not be able to do this effectively, which is again going to impact the workforce. And the last one here, I think the companies are underestimating the switching cost. Humans like routines. And here we're asking them 2 days in office, 3 days from home. There's a whole switching cost involved. The way I think, the way I show up, the way I work has to shift. It's like asking somebody to play a test match in the first innings, a T20 in the second innings, and come back and play a test match in the third innings. It's going to be stressful. Like one of the employees in one of the firms we work for very nicely said, I'll have 2 or 3 Monday morning blues. I said, what is that? She said, one is the start of the work week. The second is when I have to turn up in office. The whole routine has to shift. And that switching cost is something companies will have to bake in the hybrid working model. All of these need to be factored in, and it's as complicated as you said and more.
Right, Deepa, really great insight from you. That's why I love having you on the program to actually, and I love this word, psychological safety, another way to look at FOMO really. And it's not a millennial thing, it's not a Gen Z thing at all. It's what is there in all humans, especially us as Indians, always juggling to sort of get more from that little time that we have. Let me go to Ashish next. Ashish, I know NASSCOM has done a very detailed survey talking about how much people want work from home now. And, you know, we keep looking at this scenario, but India is a very peculiar picture when it comes, and it's a different story altogether when it comes to work from home compared to the world. India, where we hustle every day, we work long hours, we are more competitive, we are a better talent pool, and we have to work twice as hard, if not more, to try and get to the sort of, goals we have for ourselves compared to rest of the world. What exactly were the key takeaways for you?
So clearly, I think it's a paradigm shift. Earlier, people followed work. Now work is following people. And that's the new reality. And in our industry, we saw in 18 months how we went from a nearly complete, work in office. Even we had some hybrid model even before, right? IT industry. But we went to nearly 100% remote working. And now to come back into hybrid model, it's going to be new. But the great thing is that while everybody wants to come back to office in some ways, this hybrid will be not one size, as you said, and therefore there is a great amount of flexibility which companies are now experimenting with. So nobody is in a rush to force fit a solution with the employees as an organization. And I think we are getting a lot of discussions going within the industry because everybody wants to maximize productivity. Everybody wants to maximize employee retention. And there's a huge opportunity out there because of this model. And we are not seeing it just in the domestic context. I think if you look at the overall offshoring context, I think a lot of work globally, which traditionally would have happened in, let's say, a US or a EU market, even let's say 18 months back. Now, because of people are working hybrid even in the global markets. So now the thinking is that if I can work hybrid within EU, then why can't that job also move to India potentially, right? So I think there are many discussions which are there. These are also throwing up now new policy challenges in the sense that this entire idea of 9 to 5 office shift and the fact that you can possibly work for 8 days and then that's it. Now so in some sense, obviously you want to work for 8 hours in a day and not more. But how do you spread those 8 hours? That's the flexibility which you want to have as an employee and as an employer. So, I mean, today, for example, my son went to the school first day and I was able to pick him up from school at 1 o'clock and do that while doing my work. So I don't want to let go of that. But just in terms of some of the things which are challenging, one, people who have gone out of their city. So who have gone to the hills or gone to their native place. That's a big challenge. So how do you make something, neutral where you don't penalize people who are in the city vis-a-vis people who are moved out? Second is age
retaining those people is going to be actually the hardest because they are also now caught up in a dilemma over there. And talking about retaining people, let me bring in Bala in this conversation. I was chatting up with him earlier and he talked very rightly about not just the tech sort of industry, but all over the massive resignations that we are seeing, and all of that actually related to the way people are working now. This I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, is the first time we are seeing people take a stand on which place they will work, not work. I don't know if it's a generation thing or just what COVID has done and exposed to us, as human beings here in India as well. People saying, well, this is not the life I want, and I will move on to any company which gives me this quality of life. This is the standard of living that I'm looking for. A job can follow.
Yeah. Thank you, Sonal. Absolutely. Yes, organizations have now slowly woken up to the fact that if they assume that employees are now jumping for joy at the prospect of being able to come back to work, then they have another thing coming. It doesn't really work like that, because 18 months back, when we were left with no choice but to make employees work remotely, a lot of organizations wanted to and did successfully manage to make them work remotely overnight. But they also assume, some of the organizations did assume, that they will be able to bring them back to work as quickly. But it's not really going to happen, because a lot of these employees have made life decisions in the last 18 months, like going back permanently to their native place because they wanted to stay closer with their parents. And you know what? They loved it. They wanted more of it. They're not really going to come back anytime soon. So companies have to be very prudent in facing this process out and not rush in to get people back to work. And yes, as you rightly called out, this whole great resignation that is afoot right now has multiple factors going for it. It's a culmination of a lot of things that have happened in the last 18-20 months. It's pent-up career choices, which are piling up now because the market has started opening up. That's number one. And number two, a lot of organizations have now clearly realized that many of the positions for which they are hiring can be location agnostic. They don't have to be fixated with the fact that a person has to actually be based out of an office in X, Y, or Z city to be able to deliver. And for IT companies specifically, which are focused on offshore work delivery, they can be location agnostic. I have worked in such an environment for 5 years myself, so it doesn't really matter much. So it really boils down to what kind of profiles can actually work remotely and what cannot, and you have to make a call about it.
True. So it's the profile, it's the sector, it's the level at which you are in the company. All of that will contribute to how exactly this is going to work. I quickly want to slip into a break. I know Ajay is waiting as well. When we come back, I want to get his side of the story. Hero, how are they managing? Is remote working even an option? What about manufacturing sector? How exactly are things going to work there? That's coming up on the other side in a moment from now. Welcome back. We're looking at hybrid model and the complications that come with it. Let me cut across to Ajay now. Ajay Arora, the Vice President of Strategic Planning and Projects at Hero Enterprise, who's been patiently waiting for his turn. Go ahead, Ajay.
Hi. Thank you, Sonal. There are many businesses under Hero, from two-wheelers to real estate, financial services and insurance to training and education, and even going up to renewable energies. So though our factories and construction sites never went into work from home mode, other businesses and support services swiftly moved to flexible working system with the onset of pandemic, like what everybody did that, right? Now, as the numbers, as the pandemic seems to be under control, we have taken active steps to get our teams get back to office. This involved organizing vaccination camps for employees, ensuring COVID appropriate behavior at work. And what we have realized is the biggest challenge has been to reinstate confidence back among employees. Imagine someone who's been in a shell for 18 months or 20 months. Getting him out of the shell is the biggest challenge. Hence, the opening of office was done in phases, with steps taken like teams coming on alternate days, ensuring social distancing, no physical meetings.
No, Ajay, can I ask you this? If it was going so well, then why are they being called back?
So, this is very important. I'll go back to the philosophy of organization. What is an organization? What we have learned from our founding chairman, Dr. Vijmal Lal Munjal, an organization is his parivar. It is his family. And the family, like what we know, it's a cliche that a family which eats together, which lives together, lives longer. So I think organization is that parivar or the family. This has to work together, whether in a hybrid manner or whether in a physical manner. I think that's what to the different organizations to decide. But what we have learned is what Satya Nadella was also talking about, the paradox of hybrid working. People like Deepa also spoke about the FOMO, the fear of missing out. People who are working at home, they have come back. In my team, they have come back and told me that their productivity is much higher when they are at work. Because what they could do it in 3 hours in office, they could not achieve it within 8 hours at home. I mean, I think there are valid reasons for people to come back to work, and they are volunteering.
I just want to give last minute I have, so 30 seconds each by the clock, please, to Deepa and Bala both, to get a quick perspective on. So, see, frankly, I don't know what is work from home like. I have worked through the pandemic, so has a lot of media industries. But I'm just trying to figure out that there are other organizations who did. But if it was working so well, why call them back? I don't have a straight answer to that.
Yep, and since you have called them back, here are 3 tips we're going to give the leaders. One is expect your workload to increase. Because when teams come back, you will have to work with them to evolve a hybrid way of working. It's not going to happen by default. Second, you will have to plan on reskilling your workforce to work in hybrid. They need a new mindset, they need new skills, they need new tools. Last thing, please expect a drop in efficiency and productivity when they come back and all of the switching cost. And that is going to make it a slightly more humane experience for them than add to the stress of having been called back when they were comfortably working from home.
Very good points over there. Very good points. Bala, quick class, 30 seconds.
Yeah, yes, it's a great question. Why are we asking them to come back when things have been working so well in the last 18 months? That's because in the last 18 months, we were encashing the benefit of the social capital we had built pre-pandemic, because we had built relationships pre-pandemic. Now, post-pandemic, now, as you said, we are faced with the prospect of the great resignation, where we have a lot of new employees around us. There is no social capital left now. We are already on overdraft. So we have to build new relationships with people so that we can build synergies and deliver productively. So what worked for us in the last 18 months is probably not going to work moving forward, because we have a lot of new faces around us.
All right, and you never know which way the pandemic is going to move next, and then we'll have to revise this conversation all over and again. Who knows, like fingers crossed, nothing goes down, nothing goes up in this case in terms of numbers there. Thank you all for joining us on this very exciting conversation. I just want to leave our viewers with this quote that came in from the Microsoft report as well, which said the next generation disruption is hybrid work. Are we ready? And this goes both for employers and employees. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.